Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is Monday, June 4th, and your radio host is Wanda. I will be reading from the Sunday Fayetteville Observer. Need to know. City boards and commissions. The City of Fayetteville is looking to fill vacancies on several boards and commissions, including Animal Control, the Planning Commission, the Public Works Commission, and the Fayetteville-Cumberland Human Relations Commission. Applications will be accepted until midnight, July 31st. To apply, go to fayetteville.nc.gov, click on Government, and choose Boards and Commissions under the City section. Historic tours. The Cool Spring Downtown District will give historic tours of Old Fayetteville by horse and carriage on Saturday, once a month through November. The next tour is June 16th. They will leave hourly from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. from 222 Hay Street, across from the Cameo Art House Theater. The tour includes historic sites from Fayetteville's 250-year history and the stories of people and events connected with them. Call 223-1089 for tickets, which are $25 per person, $20 for military, and $15 for children under 12. Rockefeller House Tour. The park staff at Carvers Creek State Park will lead a tour of James Stillman Rockefeller's winter estate today at 10 a.m. The tour will begin by discussing the history of the property and how it came to be Long Valley Farm, followed by a guided tour inside the house and learning about James Stillman Rockefeller. Participants will then walk around the outside of the estate and discuss some of the surrounding structures, some which date to the early 1800s. Tours are free, but participants must sign up ahead of time. The park is at 2505 Long Valley Road in Spring Lake. For more information, call 436-4681. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 30 days in advance. Email calendar@fayobserver.com or fax details to 486-3545. For questions, call 486-3500. Livewire. The first question is, what is the number to television's The Price is Right? I have a number that is 1-800-50-PRICE, but I can't get that to work. Do you have a number? This is from RC in Hope Mills. And the answer is, RC, we've got your number, so come on down. According to the Price is Right website, tickets for the on-camera audiences are available by calling 1-818-295-2700 or emailing tickets@ocatv.com. Information on how to be a contestant is available at on-camera-audiences.com/shows/the_price_is_right. However, the show is on hiatus until July 30th. For those having trouble logging into the website for Win at Home giveaways, the website suggests that you email websupport@freemantlemedia.com. The Price is Right began in 1956, hosted by Bill Cullen. Contestants bid for prizes as they do now, but the format has some significant differences. It lasted until 1965. In 1972, the show was revamped and Bob Barker, synonymous to the show for a generation of television viewers, began hosting. Drew Carey has been the host since 2007. The show has had daytime and primetime versions on all three major networks, NBC, ABC, and CBS. Livewire seeks to answer questions of general interest and consumer topics. Initials are used to identify questioners when names are given. Contact Livewire at livewire@fayobserver.com or at 486-3516. How to prepare for hurricane season. Cumberland County residents should begin preparing for hurricane season, which runs from June 1st through November 30th. Seems like we just got through hurricane season. My goodness, here we are again. North Carolina is one of the leading states for hurricane damage. County residents who are still recovering from Hurricane Matthew, which struck in 2016, now know how devastating these storms can be. Now is the time to get ready to protect your home and family. Taking steps to prepare for hurricanes and other disasters can help people recover more quickly. Take time to develop and discuss emergency plans with your family and loved ones, and remember to update your emergency supplies. I encourage you to sign up for the free mass notification system, Cumberland Alerts, available through Cumberland County website at co.cumberland.nc.us. The Cumberland Alert system provides important information through text messages, emails, and telephone calls. Seconds matter during impending severe weather, such as tornadoes, flash flooding, thunderstorms, winter storms, and hurricanes. An emergency supply kit should contain enough supplies to not only get you through the storm, but for the lengthy aftermath. Make sure to have enough non-perishable food and water to last each family member 3 to 7 days. Consider 1 gallon of water per person per day as you plan and prepare your kit. Please include copies of insurance papers and identification sealed in a watertight plastic bag, a first aid kit, a weather radio and batteries, prescription medicine, sleeping bags or blankets, a change of clothes, hygiene items such as toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, and deodorant, and cash. For pet owners, you want to include pet supplies, including water, leashes, bedding, a muzzle, and vaccination records. This is a good time to review homeowner and renters insurance policies. During storms, citizens should stay tuned to a trusted local news source and keep a battery-operated radio available for weather and evacuation information. Please heed the warning of local and state officials when requested to evacuate. The most dangerous threat from hurricanes and tropical storms is flooding and storm surge. Please consider registering with the Cumberland Alerts and following Cumberland County government on social media to stay informed. Stay safe. Public safety. The following are arrests in Cumberland County. Quina Marcia Boone Fudge, 18, of the 550 block of Fountain Grove Loop, was charged Friday with attempted breaking and entering of a building. Bail was set at $1,000. Marcus Ransom Jones, 31, of the 1300 block of Hibiscus Road, was charged Friday with possession of a firearm by a felon, possession with intent to manufacture, sell, or deliver a controlled substance, maintaining a vehicle or dwelling for a controlled substance, trafficking cocaine, and trafficking heroin. No bail was set. Break-ins. Doc Bennett Road reported at 6:46 p.m. Friday, equipment taken. Hart Pine Drive reported at 11:08 a.m. Friday, nothing reported missing. Excuse me. New Bern Alzheimer's Ride doubles its numbers. When the first Ride to Remember for Alzheimer's was held in the spring of 2017, organizer Melanie Noble hoped it would become an annual event. After 50 cyclists showed up at Host Home Place Assisted Living in New Bern and raised more than $2,800, it was on track. On Saturday, the second annual event had more than 100 riders who set out on a sunny early morning for rides of 15, 35 and 50 miles. We had hoped for the best, and anything over last year would have been wonderful, Noble said just before donning a helmet and joining the riders. We more than doubled the numbers, so we again hope it becomes an annual event. The cycling fundraiser raises money and awareness for statewide support groups, educational seminars, and families and caregivers in need of assistance. The event is held through the partnership with the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, formerly Alzheimer's North Carolina. Lisa Levine, Dementia Alliance Program Director, was on hand for Saturday's event and expressed her admiration for the job Noble and the other local organizers have done in 2 years. We, Dementia Alliance, have lots of walks, some runs, a volleyball tournament, and a golf tournament, but this is unique, she said. It is very special. The Fleiss bicycle van led the riders out from the McCarthy Boulevard to start into Trent Woods. Among the riders was John Hamilton, who came from Newport and brought his Madone 9.9 bike, given a gift to himself when he retired from the Marines in 1991. I know Melanie. This cause is a good chance to donate, and I enjoy riding, said the 71-year-old who has been cycling off and on for a decade or so. I just show up and ride. Cycling is one of Doug Eady's recreational passions. I ride bikes better than I golf, he joked after registering. He has been cycling for about 10 years and goes out several times a week. He said his daughter has MS and he rides in the September MS ride each year and takes part in rides such as this as part of his training and community support. Tommy Arthur, who rides with friend Linda Sawyer, said they rode 50 miles Thursday and Friday to get prepared for Saturday's event. More on Alzheimer's is available online at dementia.org. Former state senator in cardiac care unit. A former state senator who founded a Fayetteville medical clinic was in the cardiac intensive care unit at a Raleigh hospital Saturday night. Dr. Eric Mansfield, founder of the Cape Fear and I always have a hard time with this word, y'all, otolaryngology, excuse me, I mess it up every time, is a patient at Wait Med, according to a hospital spokeswoman. She declined to give his condition. Mansfield was in a car accident earlier in the week, but the circumstances are unclear. More than 1,400 people have responded to posts on social media about Mansfield. A friend posted on Facebook that he was in intensive care. Mansfield is an ear, nose, and throat specialist. Now you know what I was trying to pronounce. And has been providing service at his private practice for 17 years. He is also a minister. He represented Cumberland County in the state senate, winning the office in 2010. He ran unsuccessfully for lieutenant governor after serving one term in the legislature. Spoofing numbers, sneaking around by cell. What has become a popular trend among criminals during the technology era has united citizens and police together. Spoofing numbers is a type of fraud anyone can expect, even law enforcement. Burlington Police Lieutenant Todd Long explained that spoofing numbers are when an unknown party will take someone's real phone number to try and defraud a third party of information or money. They can use this app to replace their number with our number so it looks official, Long said. Many of the spoofing apps can be downloaded for free, and scammers can even decide which number he or she wants to use as the spoofer number, Long said. Say, for instance, we have had some people who have been victims of fraud. meaning a representative for Blue Cross Blue Shield calls and says, "We're conducting this survey on Blue Cross Blue Shield. We need your name, your date of birth, your address." Anybody can go online and look up where Blue Cross is from as far as area code, so they will put it in, Long said. Long has even heard of other police department phone numbers being taken and used by scammers, although this has not happened with the Burlington police, he said. One interesting fact Long provided about spoofing numbers is that originally it was intended for practical jokes or pranks. "I think everybody has been spoofed at some time," Long said. "If you read about it, people do it for like prank purposes. The fact that the spoofing apps are open to anyone to download and use means anyone could be a spoofer, could become a spoofer." Long explained that more often than not, spoofers will target a certain audience for a certain type of scam, such as IRS scams. Anybody can go on and get a general number from the IRS and call people up saying, "You owe a large amount of money to the IRS. You need to send this X amount of money." Actually, I've seen this number come up on my phone, and I know the IRS does not contact you that way. When certain types of scams seem to be doing really good for the criminals, they stick with that scam. Long added, the IRS scam was really, I guess, maybe good for them. Nobody wants to owe the IRS any money. Long added that a lot of elderly people are targeted by spoofers who try to represent themselves as family members in need of money. The unfortunate part about it is they fall victim to being spoofed by someone on the other end because it is not really hard, in my opinion, to get someone's information off the internet now, Long said. If you have a cell phone that is registered to you, your information is out there on the internet. If some people know your basic information, they could be creative and use your number to spoof someone close to you. Even though citizens are mostly targeted for spoofing calls, law enforcement are negatively affected as well. In the case of the recent breakout of school lockdowns in Alamance County, this obviously drained time and resources for officers involved. It also created a safety hazard for the officers. While Burlington's police weren't directly involved with the school's lockdown as it was under the sheriff's office jurisdiction, Long explained that situations like that could be dangerous for law enforcement. You have officers going into the unknown when you have someone spoofing a number, Long said. You are tying up officers logistically for an unknown amount of time because, one, we don't know if it's an emergency. Two, we have to go and verify that everybody is okay. And three, it is one of those things that you are depleting resources. Long said police have been scammed by receiving a spoofed phone call to get the officers to one location while the scammer commits a crime in a different part of the city. However, he added that this does not happen often as law enforcement try to stay on top of criminals. When it comes to actual cases where someone has been defrauded and they go to the police for help, it can start to get tricky. We will do everything in our power to help them when they are victims of fraud. A lot of time in these instances, the scammer is 2 or 3 counties away, Long said. It is kind of hard to prosecute somebody when they are 2 or 3 counties away and you can't even get to them. One way police can attempt to track down spoofers is subpoena the app the scammers were using. But it takes time, Long said. They have IP addresses and you can contact the individual company who may have created that app, and through the law enforcement chain, we do procedural subpoenas and stuff, search warrants and different things like that to work through the back channels to get to the original point where it came from. Those things are time consuming. They don't happen overnight, Long said. Long suggested several options for people who think they are being contacted by a spoofing number. One option was to call the company or organization the caller is claiming to represent and verify that the company or organization is trying to get information or money from the would-be victim. Another tip is to know the company that the spoofer is claiming to work for. For example, IRS scams can be easily caught. The IRS is not going to call you over the phone. Long said they're going to send you certified mail through the mail so you can see what you owe them. Or if there is any type of procedural information that they've got going on, they will send a letter every time. Don't fall for the phone call. The biggest piece of advice from Long was simply not answer if you don't recognize the number, and let callers leave voicemail, or answer and hang up if it sounds suspicious. When you do answer it, be very cautious of what they are asking you, Long said. If they are asking you for your personal information, don't ever give any of your personal information over the phone. Long said in instances like these, it is not unreasonable to tell the caller that you want their information so you can go online and verify whether what they're saying is true, and then offer to call them back if it is. Although blocking spoofing numbers is impossible since scammers can use whatever numbers they desire, it is possible to report spoofing numbers to the Federal Communications Commission at https://consumercomplaints.fcc.gov/new/ticket/new_form_ID =39744. Boy, that's a lot. Never, ever, ever. Rule number 1. Never give your personal information on the phone. Long said if you are not sure, hang up on them. It is a legitimate service. They are going to call you back. If it's a legitimate service, they're going to call you back. But if they are trying to defraud you out of money, more than likely they probably won't call you back. Okay, that was good information. I hope you don't run into that. This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio host is Wanda, and I am proud to serve you today. Despite losing her sight, Mary Wade looked ahead. In her 50s, Mary Wade started losing her sight. What she never lost was her love of life and her determination to participate fully in it. Mary Louise Wade died May 20th at age 62. She is survived by her husband, Harry, daughters, Jalea Poole and Stephanie W. Stevens, a son, Dwayne Opie, and other family members. For years, Wade worked in Robeson County Public Schools, mostly as a guidance counselor at Long Branch Elementary. Harry Wade said, She had a master's degree in school counseling, he said, and also worked as a substance abuse counselor. Wade loved baking and cooking and organized a food giveaway through her church, Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church, her husband said. But Wade also suffered from diabetes, and that condition gradually caused her eyesight to fail. While she didn't lose all her sight, Harry Wade said, his wife was unable to drive and had to step down from her job. She didn't let it stop her, said Wade, who said his wife was also a cancer survivor. She didn't let none of it get her spirits down. Wade continued to bake and enjoyed hobbies such as growing flowers. She was one of the lead singers in her church's Inspiration Choir. In a 2013 profile in the Fayetteville Obsever, Wade talked about her loss of sight. She was diagnosed at age 54 with degenerative myopia, which causes blurred vision and bleeding behind the eyes. Wade had 8 surgeries, 4 on each eye, to stop the bleeding. Losing her independence was the hardest part, Mary Wade said at that time. I get antsy sometimes, she said. I was always the driver wherever we went, and I always worked my first year. I didn't think I'd ever adjust. But Harry Wade said she did adjust and tried the best she could to continue to do the things she loved. She had a catering business, her and her cousins and brothers, he said. She would do the family reunion, get the food together for that. But the condition worsened, Harry Wade said. Near the end, his wife had to have oxygen to help her breathe, and the suffered fluid build up around her heart. Those were the bad times, but Harry Wade prefers to remember his wife the way she was before the diabetes took her health away. Active and energetic, always engaged in life, she was just a good person. And I'm not saying that just because she was my wife, he said. Everybody in the community loved her. Wow. Okay, I need to run and get some more articles, so stand by. Return. Trump's tariffs, how they would work. As a tool of national trade policy, tariffs had long been fading into history, a relic of the 19th century and early 20th centuries that most experts regarded as mutually harmful to all nations involved. But President Donald Trump has dusted them off in recent months and restored tariffs to a prominent place in his America First approach to the rest of the world. Trump enraged allies Canada, Mexico, and the European Union last week by slapping tariffs on their steel and aluminum shipments to the United States. Most other countries have been paying the tariffs since March. He has also threatened tariffs on up to $150 billion in Chinese products to punish Beijing for pressuring U.S. companies to turn over technology in exchange for access to the Chinese market. China has vowed to retaliate with tariffs of its own. Trump has also asked the U.S. Commerce Department to look into imposing tariffs on imported cars, trucks, and auto parts, arguing that they somehow pose a threat to the U.S. national security. The president took to Twitter on Saturday to defend his aggressive trade policies. The United States must at long last be treated fairly on trade, Trump tweeted. If we charge a country $0 to sell their goods and they charge us 25, 50, or even 100% to sell ours, it is unfair and can no longer be tolerated. That is not free or fair trade. That is stupid trade. As a look at what tariffs are, how they work, how they've been used in the past, and what to expect now. Question: so what are tariffs? Tariffs are a tax on imports. They are typically charged as a percentage of the transaction price that a buyer pays a foreign seller. Say an American retailer buys 100 garden umbrellas from China for $5 a piece, or $500. The U.S. tariff rate for the umbrellas is 6.5% for umbrellas. The retailer would have to pay $32.50, a $32.50 tariff on the shipment, raising the total from $500 to $532.50. In the United States, tariffs, also called duties or levies, are collected by Customs and the Border Protection agents at 328 ports of entry across the country. Proceeds go to the Treasury. The tariff rates are published by the U.S. International Trade Commission in the Harmonized Tariff Schedule, which lists U.S. tariffs on everything from dried plantains 1.4% to parachutes 3%. Sometimes the U.S. will impose additional duties on foreign imports that it determines are being sold at unfairly low prices or are being supported by foreign government subsidies. It's not always easy to match a specific product to a specific tariff or to keep up with which products from which countries are facing, say, special anti-dumping duties. It's very complicated, says John Brew, a trade lawyer at Crowell and Mooring LLP. The big companies will have staff that this is all they do. Another question: what are tariffs supposed to accomplish? Two things: raise government revenue and protect domestic industries from foreign competition. Before the establishment of the federal income tax in 1913, tariffs were a big money raiser for the U.S. government. From 1790 to 1860, for example, they produced 90% of the federal revenue, according to the Clashing Over Commerce, a history of the U.S. trade policy by Douglas Irvin, an economist at Dartmouth College. By contrast, last year, tariffs accounted for only 1% of the federal revenue. In the fiscal year that ended September the 10th, the U.S. government collected $34.6 billion in custom duties and fees. The White House of Management and Budget expects tariffs to fetch $40.4 billion this year. Those tariffs are meant to increase the price of imports or to punish foreign companies for committing unfair trade practices, like subsidizing their exporters and dumping their products at unfairly low prices. Tariffs discourage imports by making them more expensive. They also reduce competitive pressure on domestic competitors and can allow them to raise prices. Tariffs fell out of favor as global trade expanded after World War II. Syria, FM, Iran has no combat forces bases in the country. Syria's foreign minister said Saturday Iranian military advisors are embedded with Syrian troops but Tehran has no combat forces or fixed bases in the country. Walid al-Muallam's comments came amidst tension in the region, as Israel has repeatedly warned against any permanent Iranian military presence in Syria. Al-Muallam said Israel is making false claims to try to pressure Iran, its arch rival. In May, Israel carried out a wave of airstrikes in response to what it said was Iranian rocket attacks on its position in the occupied Golan Heights. It was the most serious confrontation between Israel and Iran to date. Scores of Iranian soldiers have been killed in battles with insurgents in Syria, including a number of officers. Several others were also killed in the past few months in airstrikes said to be carried out by Israel. Iran has repeatedly said in the past that it only has advisors in Syria, but thousands of Iran-backed groups from Lebanon, Iraq, Pakistan, and Afghanistan have played an instrumental role in helping government forces regain control of areas held by insurgents. Those areas include eastern neighborhoods of the northern city of Aleppo, the eastern province of Deir el-Zor, and parts of Idlib and Hama provinces to the west. On April the 9th, an airstrike struck the T4 air base in central Syria, reportedly targeting a unit of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard Corps and killing several Iranians, including a colonel who was a commander of the Guards. Aerospace Force Russia blamed Israel for the attack. There are Iranian advisors in Syria, some of whom were martyred while working with the Syrian Arab army, and their presence is part of an agreement and in coordination with the armed forces on where they should be. Al-Muallam said there are no fixed military bases for Islamic Republic of Iran, and what Israel is circulating are lies. Demise of Roseanne puts crew in bind. Last month, Ann Aarons received a phone call asking if she could work as a set decorator on an upcoming TV project. The week in May, when networks announce their new shows, always involves a big scramble for jobs, she explained, as they look to quickly staff the picked up series before they start production over the summer. But Aarons turned down the offer. I said, "Oh, I'm going back to Roseanne, so I'm not available," she recalled. Aarons got another call Tuesday from her assistant, who wondered if she had seen what Roseanne Barr had tweeted that morning. He scrolled through Twitter and they spoke and discovered within minutes that ABC had axed the show after its star, called former Barack Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett, a product of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. Just like that, someone's racist tweet cost Aarons her job for the latter half of the year. So yeah, that happened. She doesn't deny that it was the right move on behalf of the network, whose president, Channing Dungry, deemed Barr's words abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. But Aarons is also one of the couple of hundred of people who have lost the opportunity to work on what became one of the top-rated shows on broadcast television. The cast and crew must find new gigs, having missed the scramble by just 2 weeks. Some might emerge from the brouhaha financially unscathed. 3 of the series stars Sarah Gilbert, who spearheaded the revival, plus Laurie Metcalf and John Goodman, had recently negotiated deals to receive $300,000 an episode for the 11th season, according to The Hollywood Reporter, and expected to be compensated for at least 10 of the 13 planned episodes. Details are fuzzier for the writing staff, who coincidentally had reconvened to start planning the upcoming season the same day the news of the cancellation broke. The writers probably didn't have the same clauses the actors had in their contracts. And executive producer Dave Kaplan told the magazine that several did pass on other jobs to take this job. And nobody really knows yet what kind of compensation they're going to get. Aaron's and veteran production designer John Schaefer anticipate that the department will get hit hard. Schaffner noted that these crew members generally operate as weekly hires, meaning the producer could theoretically fire them by the end of any week. Loyalty unofficially acts as a long-term contract in these situations, he said, but the network and producers do not have a written obligation to provide compensation. The disparity of pay in our entertainment business has reached levels that are almost unimaginable, Schaffner added. I love Sarah and John, and I've worked with Laurie in the past. They are amazing talents and deserve everything they get. But when you think of them walking away with as much as $3 million for not working and nobody else getting a penny, it's like, what's wrong with this world? ABC has not yet returned the Post request for comment on whether the cast and crew will receive severance pay. All of the main cast members and several writers either declined to speak about the cancellation or did not respond to inquiries. Neither Aaron nor Schaffner has heard from the network directly, though several outlets reported that Disney's ABC television group president Ben Sherwood lamented the loss of work in an email sent to ABC staffers on Wednesday. Not enough has been said about the many men and women who poured their hearts and lives into the show and were just getting started on the next season, he wrote. We're so sorry that we're swept up in all of this, and we give thanks for their remarkable talent. Wish them well and hope to find another way to work together down the road. Here and there, graduates grab a mop. Raleigh's teacher Tyler Bonin in the Wall Street Journal. Every commencement season, thousands of graduates are treated to something I'll call the standard keynote language. Everyone can recognize these tiny, easily digestible nuggets of wisdom. Don't be afraid to take risks, or be courageous, and the classic follow your passion. This is sound, albeit cliched advice. What else? What would I recommend? Mop your way to success. A mop used for cleaning floors isn't a magical tool for success. Rather, it is a reminder that there should be no task considered beneath you. When I was a student at Duke, I worked in a retail store. Many of my coworkers were also college students, some in graduate school, and one was on her way to dental school. Many of my colleagues hated mopping, which required going into the haven of filth that was the public bathroom. I had plenty of practice in this area as a former Marine Corps private, so I always volunteered to do the job. My managers noticed. They named me Employee of the Month and promoted me to management for the holiday rush, a small success at a small store. I learned that a sense of entitlement is a burden. People who believe themselves above something or entitled to something more because of past achievement will find new opportunities slip away. I volunteered for the necessary tasks, signaling my work ethic and dedication to the organization. I simply wanted to do my job as best as possible. Perhaps I didn't realize it at the time, but I was emulating senior Marines who would roll up their sleeves and get dirty when the job required. Boston Globe columnist Jeff Jacoby from the National Center for Health Statistics came some disturbing news last week. And this article is called "No Babies, That's Bad." The U.S. birth rate, which has been on the skids for a decade, hit another record low. About 3.85 million babies were born in the United States in 2017. That was down from the 3.95 million births in 2016, which in turn was down from the 3.98 million in 2015. For every 1,000 American women of childbearing age, there were just 60.2 births last year, the lowest birth rate ever recorded. A related yardstick is the fertility rate, the number of babies each woman on average will have over her lifetime. It takes a fertility rate of 2.1 just to keep the nation's population stable, neither growing nor shrinking. Last year, the U.S. rate dwindled to 1.76, a 40-year low. Americans are less inclined than ever, it seems, to be fruitful and multiply. That should trouble anyone who hopes that America's best days are yet to come. Nothing is more indispensable to the growth of any society than its human capital. The knowledge, skills, imagination, and energy of human beings. As the late great economist Julian Simon famously argued, people are the ultimate resource in any society, since human beings over time create more than they destroy. When nations retreat from marriage and children, their outlook tends to become bleaker and less prosperous. America's children are its most valuable asset, and a persistently sinking birth rate is a warning. That asset is being dangerously depleted. Life with kids is undoubtedly a challenge, but as America is on the verge of finding out, life without them will be more challenging by far. Don't let Project Habitat stall. Cumberland County and the City of Fayetteville must make it a priority to resolve questions that have stalled the 47-home Habitat for Humanity project on Bunts Road. Construction stopped last week at Oak Ridge Estates, a West Fayetteville subdivision for low-income families on land that was once an old mobile home park. At issue is $2 million from the federal government that Fayetteville Area Habitat for Humanity and the city believed was good for the project. Habitat plans to use the money from Hurricane Matthew funds for infrastructure work. Not so fast. County management said last week a consultant for the county raised questions about whether the project really qualifies for disaster aid, and the county has other questions about Weather Habitat has all its ducks in a row. Assistant City Manager Jay Reinstein appeared confident that this little blip on the radar will be sorted out so construction can resume. Let's make sure it does. This is a tremendously worthwhile project, and 47 families are counting on it. RFK and the nation we might have been. It made my mother scream. That's what I remember. I had been lying dozy in bed, but at the sound of her, I scrambled into the living room. She was standing before the television watching an image of chaos in a ballroom. Although I grew up in the 1960s, very few of the signal events of that tumultuous decade managed to penetrate my childish, oblivious world. I have little first-hand memory of the Watts Uprising, the 1968 Democratic Convention, or the moon landing, but I remember the night 50 years ago this week when Senator Robert F. Kennedy was shot. I remember that scene in the ballroom. I remember a crude graphic on TV news showing where a bullet had entered his skull. I remember hearing that he had 11 children and feeling sorry for them that this had happened to their daddy. But then you tend to remember the things that make your mother, then you do tend to remember the things that make your mother cry. In many ways, Bobby Kennedy was an unlikely figure for my mom's grief. A slightly built rich man with an upper crust accent, sad eyes, and a rabbity smile, and that shaggy forelock he was forever sweeping off his forehead. Because he was the runt of a rough and tumble clan, he was always obsessed with proving his toughness. So as a state senator and campaign manager for his brother Jack and attorney general, Bobby was the unwavering one. Okay, looks like we have another, maybe time for one more. See, we'll find something really quick here. Hold on. Wait a minute, here's the rest of that article. I was searching for it. Bobby was the unwavering scourge of communists, gangsters, and anyone. He famously approved the wiretap for Martin Luther King. After all, he felt threatened of his brother's political fortunes. Then Jack was killed. In the 5 years between that tragedy and his own assassination in Los Angeles while running for president, a different Robert Kennedy emerged. He's the one my mother mourned, the one whose example haunts the fractured political movement. He's the one who went to Bed-Stuy, Appalachia, and other broken places politicians often don't go. He's the one who went to California to join Cesar Chavez as he ended a 25-day hunger strike. He's the one who went to the Mississippi Delta, knelt on a dirt floor and tried to coax a listless baby whose stomach was swollen by hunger. He let those kinds of things get to him, let them trouble, shatter, and remake him. He reached out to the people living on the margins, and they reached back with such fervor that his aides had to physically anchor him to keep him from being pulled out of a car when he campaigned in certain places. It turned out the tough guy had an instinct for the underdog and a deep moral indignation over the unfair treatment that trapped them in their hoods and hollers, barely subsisting in the shadows of plenty. He saw their humanity. This, I think, even more than his opposition to the war in Vietnam, was what drew people like my mother. There was in that last ragged campaign of his this sense of the impossible, of the new, of fundamental systemic change. There was this sense of a more compassionate America waiting just below the horizon. There was in a world hope, or as Representative John Lewis, then a campaign aide, consoled himself in the grim weeks after Martin Luther King was murdered in Memphis. At least we still have Bobby. Then Bobby was gone. 50 years later, as immigrant children are taken from their parents at the U.S. border, as the rich get richer while the poor work full-time jobs for the part-time pay, as hatred flows from the top of our government, hope feels like a bygone relic of our outmoded age, like blood from a wound that never healed. That night, Mom cried for a loss greater than she could have known. She mourned a good and decent man. We mourn a nation that might have been. Okay, this is all we have time for. This concludes the reading of the Sunday Fayetteville Observer. Your radio host has been Wanda. Coming up next, a broadcast of the Harnett County News, the Rayford News Journal, and the Robesonian. I've enjoyed being with you this evening. Thank you for tuning me in, and have a wonderful day.